Welcome to the deep dive. We pull the key insights from, well, stacks of sources to make complex stuff clear. Today we're tackling a hormone often put in a very specific box, testosterone. But as you're about to hear, there's way more to it. It's actually pretty surprising.
That's exactly right. Our goal here really is to give you a solid, comprehensive but still concise picture of testosterone. We'll look at the real benefits, bust some common myths, and really stress how vital it is for both men and women. Let's cut through the noise.
Okay, let's jump right in with something that, well, it really turns things upside down. One thing that genuinely surprised me reading through this was testosterone's role in women. It's
Yeah.
often just ignored. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is where it gets really interesting. Testosterone isn't just there in women. It's often their most abundant active sex steroid.
Most abundant, really?
Yeah, throughout their lives. We could be talking like 5 to 50 times more abundant than estradiol. That really goes against the grain, doesn't it? So many people, even doctors, sort of see it as just the male hormone.
It definitely does challenge that view. Okay, so shifting over to men, especially men with low levels, the story gets even more dramatic. We hear about sex drive, energy, but the sources suggest it goes much further than that.
Oh, absolutely. For men, starting with low T, giving them testosterone therapy, it markedly improves mood, that overall sense of vitality. Plus, you get increased muscle mass, less body fat overall, and specifically less belly fat, that visceral fat. But the real kicker, I think, from these sources is the impact on heart health. It's profound.
Profound how? I mean, compared to other things doctors might suggest.
Well, imagine something that significantly cuts your risk of a heart attack. Studies are showing reductions in cardiovascular disease risk and overall death rates by up to 39%.
39%. Wow.
And some research points towards, believe it or not, a 100% absolute risk reduction in cardiovascular events in certain groups. And get this, it actively reduces calcium buildup in coronary arteries and thickening in the carotid artery walls. These are actual markers of artery damage getting better. You just don't see that with statins, for example.
Okay, reducing actual damage, not just risk factors.
Yeah.
And it doesn't stop with the heart.
Not at all. Another crucial bit is how it reverses insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes, messed up lipid profiles, dyslipidemia, and high cholesterol.
Yep.
Which is, a huge contrast to statins, which can sometimes make diabetes worse.
That's ironic, isn't it?
It is. And these aren't just temporary fixes. The benefits seem to be continuous. They don't just plateau. People keep improving for 10 years, sometimes more.
That's incredible. But okay, let's talk about the big fears. Prostate cancer is probably the #1 concern people have. What's the real story there, according to recent research?
Right, and that's a really important question because it's such a persistent myth. The data we have now just doesn't show an increased risk of high prostate cancer with therapy. It also doesn't make things worse if someone is diagnosed later on in terms of mortality. And actually, if a guy's baseline T is over 200, it might even be protective. The old worries just aren't supported anymore.
Okay, so the prostate cancer link seems largely debunked by modern data. What about the thick blood issue, polycythemia? People worry about clots.
Yeah, another common concern. Testosterone can increase red blood cell count. That's called erythrocytosis. But here's the twist. A key study actually found that in men on testosterone therapy, having a higher hematocrit, that measure of red blood cells, was linked to lower mortality. Not higher risk, lower.
Lower mortality. So the thick blood wasn't harmful in that context.
Exactly. It helps clarify that high red blood cells themselves aren't the primary driver of clots. High platelet counts are more the issue there, so the mechanism people fear isn't quite right.
Fascinating. Okay, let's circle back to women then. We know it's abundant, but what does it actually do for women's health?
Right. It's not just about quantity. It's crucial for women's bone density, for one, and also for sexuality. But what's really striking is the potential anti-cancer role.
Anti-cancer. How so?
Testosterone can actually inhibit the growth of breast cancer cells. Some evidence suggests it might even reduce breast cancer rates by sort of counteracting estrogenic stimulation. It acts protectively there.
That's huge. And what about something like PCOS, polycystic ovary syndrome? Often you hear about high testosterone being the problem.
Well, yes and no. In PCOS, often the elevated free testosterone isn't the root issue itself. It's usually driven by high insulin levels, hyperinsulinemia. So if you address the underlying insulin resistance, maybe lose some visceral fat, that helps raise SHBG sex hormone binding globulin.
Which binds the testosterone.
Exactly. It binds up more testosterone, lowering the free active amount. So you're treating the metabolic issue, not just blaming the hormone.
Okay, so pulling this all together, what's the big takeaway for someone listening? This deep dive really paints a very different picture of testosterone.
It really does. It shows these profound metabolic effects, protective effects for both men and women that are often just completely missed. It forces us really to question some old assumptions and maybe demand a more nuanced view of our hormones.
So it's about looking deeper than the headlines.
Precisely. And maybe leaves you thinking, if this one hormone can do all this, help the heart, the brain, potentially protect against cancer in both sexes well, what other long-held medical ideas might need a second look? Knowing this stuff empowers you really to ask better questions about your own health journey.